Tini Tajakala Jubi, Tini Jakab Sosoke, Chudona Paratini, Tashi Delixio is Tini Yuna, just Rumang Mambo Kuyori, Tini Ta, Ang Roman Kajinuma, Kashikitini, the Rumang Dibadel, Hadakawa Cheki, the Jumchin, Yori, coming Tata. Long Kajuke, Jibandi, and Kachiki, Lumajo Batanji, Dinity, Ashua, what it is, Sinti Chong and Yori. They are to meet DJ, going more than he conquer. Tobai in some Kachin, what the Chong and Yori is, a Chong and Athena. They take out to meet the Yeshiva coming in the conquer. Mulhamna be from George. 강에 쪽 강이들이 멋지 강들이 고태바서 막가는들이 고생빵을 욕좀 제삼바 들이 진진 고조디 예시와리 데레들이 고조디 예시 콩이 야시와리 이제 종은 요래 좀니티 예시와데 콩리
And my friends, the Shidele, all the Dhamma friends who are joining us on the live stream today from all over the world. So we are receiving the Tara empowerment, and generally we receive many Tara empowerments. But some of the older, the senior disciples, they really like this very short Tara empowerment a lot. And there's also a reason for that, and that is so in the Jigong Kagyu lineage. So this is basically from the empowerment text. Now this is written in the commentary, small print of the empowerment text. There's some notes there, and so the origin of this empowerment is mentioned there, and that is so it's from it originates from the request of a master called Dumye Dengye, the Siddha Dengye. And so what's the most important quality to say about him is that in his entire life, he was someone who spent his life in complete strict retreat, and he never really left to go outside. And so he's the one who requested that the previous Garchen Rinpoche to compose this empowerment text and sadhana, and so his name is Gunju Dengye or Dumye Dengye, and so he was the one requesting this text.
So you can more large indeed Hong Kong the Jatiluma much Shazay or Eston, there is an Katir about a Kong then Pamani Jelly some the Dutton, Sentient of Allah, Dabjaso, now Miam gave it a Milam Yam, Yam the Texas gave it in Susum Italy, in Susum, this on my daughter. The don't die a bit, that's all my country to was on the Yachung Tona, they were ready.
So also in the small print, which is like the commentary within the empowerment text, it says that how the composition of this text then came about is that so it was requested to the previous requested to the previous Garchen Rinpoche, who was Chunle Yongyap, to compose this sadhana, and so he himself then agreed because he had directly seen Tara, and he then said that he had a dream where Tara directly appeared and gave him a crystal mala and a vase and other objects, and directly kind of appeared to him, and then also spoke to him, and so therefore he thought it is suitable to compose this sadhana. So all of this is from the commentary in the small print.
드리트는디 롱바티리 에다다 콩베 대바 첨벌 라말라치 이네들이 콩대바 치와들이 와는 기존 가치와 쇼고테 타주 콩들이 좀 와는 가르치나들이 콩은 난거리 참내적으로 콩 이 랑이 잡고 충충들이 그런 가지고 많은 콩들이 보고 막 빵들이 콩들을 까프셔 따비도 보통만 콩들이 시발에 콩들이 시들이 따뜻한 콩을 까프랑들이 마음바라 야고 차로 좀 따뜻해 로지나 이제 요래 컨트롤이 답아진다게 오타들은 답아지 톱소는지 그래서 말이지 그거 내 컨트롤 고쳐 잡아야 내가 말이 파쿠 잡아지 로고를 때로送的 이 따뜻해서送요래 데이터로지 대구는 아주 짜치고 소리 디들이 와는 요소 녀들이 디와는 다달라가지고 콩들이 원디왕 아가도 토요래 보충도 토마토니 왕디시래
So Tumne Dengye was the one who had requested that empowerment, and so then he in our area, he was a great lama who was among all the lamas actually one really had one of the greatest faith in, and so he was also the one who conferred any empowerment and transmission, whatever was asked of him, he would confer any empowerments and transmissions. And so when I was very young, actually before I received this the Gunkagyu title, this name, I actually came into his presence as a very, very young child to receive the refuge vow. And when he clipped the hair of my crown, so that is when that whole story about how he clipped that hair of the crown hair, the crown lock, that is actually in the movie, the film on my life story. But anyways, at that time, it was the very first time, and before I received this name, he already in a way recognized, because the other monks at that time present, they said that, oh, now we got another monk. And then Rumna Dengye said that, oh, he won't stay just a normal monk, and so on. And then the story you can see in the film. But anyways, there's quite a many precious stories about him. So anyways, he was the one giving all the empowerments and the transmissions. And just for the lineage, he was the one from whom I've received that empowerment first. And that was when I was very, very young. So when receiving empowerments and transmissions and the refuge vow, actually he was the one who gave me the name that I still have now, my name Guncho Gyamtsen. So this is how I have actually received this name when I was still in my mother's lap. That is when I received this name Guncho Gyamtsen.
로직은 송요래 로직이 받는 송요래 되는 송래더니 자왕의 진포 게사한테 이르베 이긴 초가 나바 톱송 네 로직나다 시온 거를 대소 말에 대소 말들이 이긴 초가 나바시 바지 강의 되는들이 다다 장갑고 왕랑 열들이 참 공사가 가비 이 거기 좀 잘라 얘기 보도 방고 요래 공사 좀 공로 배차방고 요래 이 보트에 참아나니까 처음에 가리고는 이게 보트에 떼기 니창가 좀 보소송 되게 되게 보고 저도 송 거래 송스들이 나를 이제 보트인지 보지 다 이게 동다한테 보트 중동 집어서 대략은 나랑 누구 적성나 니고들랑 로버레 대략이 이게 보다때 이빈노 좋다 마시고 다다때 답진 바도르디 장것들이 다다피 부역 충충조라들이 망보는 게 요래 나도 가지고 그때 르는 자방진이 저도 르는 참아 내다다디 많이 막상 주행주 자방는 게 요래 드리게로 밖에 자고 지금 뭐라면 되지 자방는 게 요래 내다다디 가가 주지고 다다다디 이빈노 좋대 대 리지부서는 좀 가지고 자방지 인체면서 그렇잖아요 보다 충충하자는 요도들이 자방지 딱 이빈노 좋대 dittabati he potatetin yang ngakeng dikene ni tele chama gaoti ta na ni ko ji che mo che le
There's also, regarding the historical background of this empowerment, there's a very extensive story, and also in the empowerment text there's a short story of that. And so basically the origin really of the empowerment goes back to Garchen Rinpoche, who had received the this sadhana called the wish-fulfilling jewel treasure in a pure vision of Tara. And so when I was very young, also I came to Metengi's place, and so then he said that so there in his chamber, his room, there were many different scriptures, and so then he said, so today I want to give you something. I want to give you one of those texts. So you point your finger, whatever text you want, and I give it to you. So I was looking around and I saw this very small, but really kind of nice, kind of fancy looking little volume. And I pointed my finger at that and said, that's what I want. And the one I pointed at was this sadhana, this wish-fulfilling jewel treasure of Tara. And so also this text then, which was very, very small at that time, also was then later printed by Nature of Bliss in very small versions to pass out to people to wear it around their necks. There is this kind of tradition of wearing holy scriptures around someone's neck as a necklace. In the Jigong Kagyu lineage, for example, for this scripture. Or in the Nyingma tradition, for example, there's the Juyingzhe, which is the Dharma Dhatu treasury. And in the Gelugpa, for example, there's a text which is a commentary on the prayer for excellent conduct. So these texts are printed extremely small, and little scriptures are made out of it, and then this is worn as a necklace, as like a protection around one's neck. And so now in the Gar lineage, therefore, we had this text, the wish-fulfilling jewel treasure of Tara, and that goes back to Rinchen Puntsok. So that's actually the kind of scripture necklace that is commonly worn now throughout the Jigong Kagyu lineage, and that's the scripture that I pointed at when I was very young, when I said this is the one I want. And so because I pointed at it, also that's why a lot of people liked it, and it became quite popular.
심리 콩을 짱마 차서면 데려들이 차지기 연지 근데 제가 내 깍들이 롱가서 쪼그니 정무송 내 답부들다 탐질라더니 롱도 줘볼 그땅 참 장이가 들이 다마다 냠들이 다마다 바로 소상들을 내발라 들을 쪼그서 쪼그를 들는 로아를 누가 광선되고 요래 탐지 저랑 탐지 그 소문 안 지나 좀 산지에 껐던 걸 롱도 마디와 직접 요말에 대회를 들이시다 같이 응안나방이 대라서 버티 셈 똑바나만 나서 요리 산지에 시바의 심리성 말이 셈장마트 산지에 차요리 셈데 요니 산지에 저탄 잡아요 말이 되게 라나 소속에 똑바로 그는데 엄마 이미 가서는 초콜릿 때랑 벌리 이런 이미 쌍퀴기 셈대가랑 셈 싸마차 될 산지라고 요미 셈리 집에 산지 가서 짜는 요 말이 셈 관계 먹는 산지 토복요래
And that there are many different empowerments, sorts of empowerments. There are short empowerments, medium length empowerments, and longer empowerments. And various empowerments are given around the world. And for example, the extensive, longer empowerments, for example, like the Kala Chakra empowerment, is given by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and so forth. And then there are many shorter empowerments given by all sorts of various different teachers throughout the world. But in generally speaking, most empowerments consist of 3 levels, which is the empowerments of body, speech, and mind. And so what happens during an empowerment? So actually, what's the difference between Buddhas and sentient beings? The difference is only one of being mature or immature. But all beings possess Buddha nature. This is, it is said in the Moonlight Sutra that Buddha nature is all pervasive. And the Buddha himself also said that all sentient beings are actually Buddhas. All sentient beings have the essence of Buddha. So what's the essence of Buddha? All beings, whether it's a human being or an animal or any kind of being, what is really their essence, their heart essence? What are they really? They are not their bodies, but they are really the mind. And the mental continuum of all beings is one and the same. It is also said that mind itself primordially is Buddha. And that is realized when the mind has become completely pure. So the completely pure natural state of the mind is what we call Buddha. And so then in the pure aspects of the Buddhas appear from the expanse of the Dharmakaya, appearing as Sambhogakayas and Nirmanakayas, and the limitless Sambhogakayas and the Sambhogakaya Pure Lands manifest to those individuals with pure karmas. And then the Nirmanakayas appear to those of pure and impure karmas in this world. But actually also it is said that the 6 realms of samsara all are Nirmanakayas. It is said that all phenomena have the nature of the 3 kayas. So there is not a single thing that transcends the expanse of the Buddha's 3 kayas. So temporarily some people make these divisions saying that I'm a Buddhist or not Buddhist, and they give rise to all kinds of thoughts and doubts. But the fundamental nature of the mind, when it has become completely pure, is really a Buddha. Whoever has a mind never separates from the cause of awakening. So even though we temporarily might have all kinds of thoughts of this and that, that still makes no difference to the natural state. And the one who actually thinks all these thoughts, when all these thoughts become purified, that one is actually Buddha. So it is the natural state of the mind, and therefore it is not that you have to go find a pure mind elsewhere. It already is your own mind. So it is the pure natural state of the mind. And This state of mind is what we refer to as Buddha.
민지 왕송 도다 제바 마디 제바 왕이 정지 디스고 말에 너의 손을 들이 상적 생명이 전에 들이 가래 상계야 되리 상대는 들이 다 이제 생들이 나진님이 와차 나진님이는 샘 그런 것들이 이제 맞지 걸면서 루시고 말 난 세고도 마셨으면들이 루지리 마도 샘 내려가지 또 소나 들이 샘 그런 샘은 님이 와 샘나 봤다고 샘 주가는 미나 들이 루진 강박도 봤다 버리 이 산지심지 같이 자체는 세부 총처를 막 하고 변했더니 셀라 자셀라더니 마포라더니 어서가란지 저거 왕갑했더니 생모트지 셀모트게 요래 셋다고 이제 들이 데려들이 sak진 독진들이 랍저를 망망보 탑망 가에 봤대 내 왕모트 버가리 셀니 맞아 저미 셀은 자소지 인송 우가 semkran rangi letri madaba daji nidi yobakal nyumonga deritela muporta simarsin letri nyumonga sharangu yore unga rangi kado yakti patela oyongore deriti semje niding da letri ronko detri tapa isi sigma de jawar ngalaso wa shar dikoto zamuna so wani sharangore 그 시험까지 니 샤용스 답으로 살성 제가 이 맥스 룸 탑바 마다보를 가도용 찍과에 말아 들이 멜니 밤이 바파 데지스 신조아 되더니 들이 마다바데 오 지지스 송나 들이 코알 샤롱을 로아도 차도 오 살성 제가 디 나와 때는 들이 답을 들이 로주도 민족이 레스토랑다 바로 먹고 나지 다수 자른 거지 관광만 보송 거요래 시바는 요래 빨리 시바는 되게 미게 쳐버리면 이게 semkran들이 변에 쳐네 sem도 쳤다 왜나 쳤다마 차송들 상계지 세면서 뭐 직장면에 sem랑 그 내려서 그렇게 상계 상대는 니진 상승 얘들은 거기 탐지 잡을 체보차로 요래 변 남가 산지게 빼 주거든요. 근데 제가 이 마산들이 마산은 맞지. 마산들이 거라나나 로아로 서서 속차 타버타들 다니니 공아진이 뭐좀만 속차 탐지. 누가 찍리 니는 뭐 찍는 선택이는 내가 마음이야. 이 대랑 속들지 로아를 독대 유몽 쪽을 말해. 이 생제 유모바타 어느니 다고차들더니 자르 나데 유몽가데 시간 미용을 샘쪽과 샘장마들이 시작을 샘쪽과들이 다지 샘지 얘들 말과 샘쪽과 정만서만에 뒤차데 신었더니 있다다 샘은 나서와이 코나마잉 추고 콜 추고 대서 바탐지랑 이는 쳐봐 라그랑 쳐봐 차로 때 하고 그래 The
empowerment is referred to as it's called the ripening empowerment, and also Thich Nhat Hanh said the difference between the sutras and the tantras is the empowerment. So in the sutra path, there's no empowerment, and through following the sutra path, one attains enlightenment gradually through the practice of bodhicitta. And then eventually, through bodhicitta, self-grasping is cleared away. So this term Buddha is Sangye in Tibetan, and Sang means to clear away, to clear, and that is what is cleared or cleared away is the dualistic grasping in self and other. And that is what has to be destroyed in terms of destroying that self. It's not the body, but it is within the mind. And when you realize the natural state of the mind, you realize there is no dualistic existence. The mind is just like space. And that is what is realized when, you realize this vast open nature when you realize the true nature of your mind. So that is when your mind matures or ripens into the Dharmakaya, and then the body appears just like an empty house. So you realize then, what a Buddha realizes is that no matter how many sentient beings there are and how many Buddhas there are, all appearance is the display of the mind itself, of one and the same mind. It is just like when the sun is shining on a crystal, then 5 colored rainbow lights emerge from it. So this is how we are introduced to the meaning of the empowerment. It is just like the rainbow lights emerging from a crystal when the sun is shining on it. And that is the essential instruction when we receive the pointing out to the Dzogchen or Mahamudra and the various stages of the path. The Vajrayana is said to be a path that is rich in skillful means that require the least difficulties. And so in the empowerment now we are introduced to the mind and all appearance as being like rainbow lights emerging from a crystal. And so from an impure perspective, that is when the mind is still perceiving a duality of self and other, when the mind is still afflicted, and then, so the mind being like the crystal, then the rainbow lights that manifest from it come from the 5 afflictive emotions, are reflected through these 5 afflictive emotions. So it is because of the grasping, the belief in a concrete reality of appearances and our concept structures, our ideas about those phenomena. It is because of these fixations in the mind that the 5 afflictive emotions arise. And the 5 afflictive emotions then manifest in the form of 5 colored light, which is basically all appearances around us. It's all light appearing to us. So that is from an impure perspective. And then when the mind becomes pure, when you purify the dualistic thoughts in your mind, then the same 5 lights manifest, but this time appearing as the 5 lights appear as the Sambhogakaya. They then become the manifestations of the 5 kinds of wisdom. According to, for example, how it is explained in the Samantabhadra prayer, and this is then how the 5 Buddha families and their consorts and so forth manifest. And so these teachings, this introduction about on light, those 5 lights is significant, especially for the time of our death, because it is said that after we have died, 2 kinds of light appear to us. So also when we are alive, there's 2 kinds of light. So there's the afflicted light, which also is the pure light of the wisdoms. And so the same kind of light appears after we have died. So there is 2 lights that have the same color, but one of those lights is very bright and brilliant, very blinding, and the other light is very dim and gentle, a very gentle light. But both lights have the same color. So the lights appear after you have died in a vision. There's 2 lights appearing of the same color. One is blinding and one is dim. And it is our natural tendency to avoid the blinding light because it feels uncomfortable. And due to our attachment to following the comfortable, dim light, we naturally go towards the dim, gentle light. But if we do that, then we take birth in samsara, and the various samsaric manifestations will appear before us again. This is how the 6 realms of samsara manifest. So it is the appearance of light, and the light is the same, but they appear in different kind of intensities. And so if one is able to habituate to that and recognize this at this point in the bardo and avoid the dim gentle light and instead go straight toward the blinding kind of formidable light, then actually it is said one will ripen into a Sambhogakaya and attain enlightenment in the bardo. So this is how it is explained in the bardo commentaries. For example, Sogyal Rinpoche has explained it, and many others as well. And so basically that is what is meant with that's the difference between mature or immature, ripe or unripe. So you have this the same lights but appearing in different ways, dim and blinding. And so the basis of mind is one and the same. So that's the same light, the same color. The basis of the mind is one and the same. And also we can say that the mind is like water. And when the water becomes completely pure, then that is what we call Buddha. So when there is not a single grasping thought in the mind and you realize the true nature of the mind, then that is Buddha, then you are Buddha. So again, Buddha means Sangye, and Sang means to clear away. And what is cleared away is dualistic grasping. And when there is no duality, then the mind becomes vast. And that is Gye, the second syllable, which means extensive or vast. All pervasive, pervading all of samsara and nirvana. So therefore, the one example of the Dharmakaya is like endless space. So basically, if there is no clearing away, then there is also no expansion. There is no vastness. So first, we need to clear away dualistic grasping, and until we have done that, we continue to wander in the 6 realms of samsara. For example, even the smallest little life form or little insect, like an ant, has this perception of me, this self-perception, and this dualistic perception of self and other, me and other. And still, the mind of all these beings is one and the same, and their afflictive emotions really, in essence, are one and the same. So it is just a temporary difference between mature and immature, ripened and unripened. And all the various manifestations in the 6 realms of samsara are the natural projections of the 6 afflictive emotions. And when the mind becomes purified, when you purify these 6 afflictive emotions, or 5 emotions, then they transform into the 5 kinds of wisdom. So the purified state of mind is what is referred to as the primordial wisdom. The mind is the same, but the defiled mind is the ignorant mind. So this is all explained in the Samantabhadra prayer. So this is our true nature. There's a single basis. And if you recognize that, then there is no more basis for saying that I'm a Buddhist and he's not a Buddhist, or I need the Dharma and he doesn't need the Dharma, and so on. So just by recognizing the natural state, you will be able to clear away all these confused thoughts. And then your wisdom eyes will actually open up.
죽어들은 콘데니는 안좀 건것들이 콘데니가 있어서 그래서 대지는 로마 잡으면은 양쪽으로 오래가리 semramzo 이미 이실라 니스도 박차지 마도는 니 차를 다지니 콘데니 드리들대독니 다들 것보다 지마시는 대참 대백강이 대체게 오래 또 저들 남쪽 이미 이시들 얘네 요거 예시사 탑지시베 시사데 얘네 요바리데 세페 가레리 내가 빼레 무슨 카바데레 로리 샘플 로리 샘플 로도 뭐 어찌 바리 요든지 요말 내가 지야 요리 미데 가바자야 오면 잡을 로고도 우리가 요리 오 미시로 카바 주는 거 카바 차스마 저 가만해서 다 출라가 가만해서 로드 베드로 말이 생광 데이터를 이 시대 예리 요 탐지 시대 탐지들이 십자수지 사지사와제도 들이 로그 뭐든 그런 거 사지 뭐 탐지 직과지 때문에 탐지 찾대변한지 대차용을 데이터를 또 데이터 내가 상제에 상대 인지상 얘들이 탐지를 찾대변한지 데이터들이 사적집 동호대는 데이터를 사적집 못 닦게 요래 데이터 용대 요래 데이터 뽀체들이 소장하서 남들은 봐대 이 세대 사운다고 가리 따스는 나오자만 돼요래 니 사운데들이 다 사운데 람소나들이 메도 사운메도 용대 용요래 저를 메도 또 반요래 들 로코도 저거지 오야 니 마음이 사운데 초라로 요래 포대니 반탐들이 메도 사운 메다 마음이 메비 용대 마음이 밖에 해가는 로 좀이 소소소소 동해 요렇게 해가는 소라 그러니까 하는 말이야. 미소와들이 탐지기 줘봐, 그거 넣어보자. 메토리 철학가리 뒤소들이 돌이라 내가 돌이도 다투고 내와 탐지 내다는 연거열이 마음이야지 계획은 돌면서 디사웅이 롱들이 다 강도들이 되는 거 배때다 삼로들 오 생활을 제시하면도 최고 내로 또 공도 최고 내로 또 어디 타투고 내 말이 있으니 이 때리 있지는 그 센터 산지도 야도서 하고서는 이 이전이 다 하고 그러면 내 소화를 남바요 얼마 선은 샘 찍어서 대소를 이제는 니스도 뭐 박자지 쩌다 세장 정말 좀 대충 잡아야 될 놈을 하게들이 무슨 말이지 대충은 그때 누구 양태한테 놈들 누가 생기는 쇼바에 또 탈로들이 시합이 생보는 시합이 또 버튼 니게고 요리 니게서 가르쳐 나지 니들 미로 요리 사바데 니게 이게 샘파처럼 쉬어도 요리 나디도 니모가 샘 차광도 차도 요리 이 잡도는 차로 거 봐야지 다 사지 이놈들이 잡지는 차로들이 뭐 동네 요리 빼때 따위 실래 그래서 다 쨌다서 나와서 집에 미도 마미 제바테 그래서 다 대리 이왕 가리 연냥 노가 아니 람탐지 샘도 메베탑 예송을 때 메디 왕데 그래서 당 것들이 왕은 것도 디셔차리 디로지로 그
So, what is the quality of realizing the nature of the mind? When you realize the nature of the mind, you realize that your true nature is beyond birth and death. And that realization is called the Buddha Vajradhara. So this nature is always there, is always present, but we haven't realized it. So this nature of mind is endless like space, and it's always there. And Milarepa said that when you realize that mind and space are inseparable, then you have realized the Dharmakaya. So the realization of the natural state of mind is referred to as Dharmakaya, or it is also called the source of samsara and nirvana, like the basis or the foundation. In the 7 verses of supplication to Tara for protection, it says, Goddess of non-dual mind, please protect those who are bound, no matter what they do, by habitual dualistic grasping at concepts in the mind that is self-arisen, non-dual, primordial wisdom. So, those who have not realized the nature of the mind so are just like that. They are just like this seed of a flower that is unripened. And they are caught up in the dualistic thinking and perception of self and other. So it's because of that. It's because of this dualistic thinking of me and others and like happiness and suffering and so on. It's because of fixating on a true existence of such a dualistic existence that we always run into a lot of difficulties. So when one realizes the nature of the mind, then, as it is said in that prayer, one realizes the self-arisen, non-dual primordial wisdom. And its primordial wisdom is called primordial wisdom because it has always been there since beginningless times. And wisdom because it is all-knowing. To give one example, that's actually an example I came up with, and that is, it's just like the mind is just like electricity, and our bodies are like a phone. For example, an iPhone, the electricity that powers all the phones is one and the same essence, and so when we think about electricity or this like kind of light energy, we can't really say that it's there because we can't really touch it or see it anywhere. It's not a substantial thing. But then we can also not say that it doesn't exist because after all it powers everything in the world and a lot of things are done with electricity. However, then, for example, if your phone breaks, it doesn't mean that all electricity disappears. It's just that it no longer powers that particular phone. But electricity is still there everywhere, all pervasive. So the mind is just like that, like this electricity. It is all pervasive. And it has been there since primordial times. And that is what we refer to as primordial wisdom, or the mind of the Buddha. It is also said that everything that is done in the field of knowable things, with the field of knowable things is this world, so anything that's done in this world is done by Buddha, because it's done by the same mind. And so therefore it is said this mind is like light or like electricity, or it is like space. It is the mind of Buddha. And it is all pervasive. That is its nature. And when you realize it, then you are a Buddha. You realize it when all dualistic thinking is cleared away. And then the mind becomes vast, all pervasive, pervading the entire universe and all beings. And that is actually the instruction on Mahamudra. And this natural state is also referred to as Mahamudra. And in order to realize it, the Buddha taught a threefold path of the individual liberation, the Bodhisattvas, and the Vajrayana path, to ripen this seed of mind that we have. And so this seed, right now, has become this perception of me. There's this I. And then as long as we cling and hold on to it, the qualities of the flower that are inherent within that seed cannot manifest. Only when we let go of this fixation, then we allow the seed to grow into the flower and all the qualities manifest. So that is like ripening into the Sambhogakaya and the Nirmanakaya. And for as long as we are unripe, it is like a spoiled seed. So in this existence, we really have come to a crossroads between samsara and nirvana. And to make it significant, we must understand the qualities of ripening our mind and the faults, the shortcomings of not ripening the mind. Not ripening the seed that we do possess is just like throwing it away into the garbage. And then even though it is Buddha, it is the seed of awakening, it becomes useless if it's in the garbage. But if you take that seed and you plant it and you offer water to it and so on, and you take good care of it, then it will grow. Eventually, you attain enlightenment. So first you take birth in the higher realms, and ultimately you attain the state of enlightenment. But if you neglect the seed, it is like throwing it into the garbage, and then it becomes just useless. So when you recognize that, and being at this crossroad now, this urgency should arise in your mind, where you think, by all means, there's nothing more important than realizing the nature of my mind. I must realize the nature of the mind. And this state of mind, this really is the ultimate, this is the ultimate truth of the that the Buddha taught. And when you see that, you will develop trust in that, because then what you know is then that I can become Buddha, my own mind can become Buddha. And then there is no more basis of saying I'm a Buddhist or not Buddhist and so on. It's all created by the mind. So all these divisions that we make is not according to how you said in this prayer by Tara. Those protect those who are bound, no matter what they do, by habitual dualistic grasping. This prayer, the 7 verses of protection to Tara, actually was spoken by Tara. Was spoken by Thigten Sumgön when she appeared, when Tara appeared to Thigten Sumgön himself. And so this is really when she appears in this way. This is when she, this goddess of non-dual mind, really enters into your mind. And to realize the non-dual mind, the goddess of non-dual mind, we need wisdom. We realize it with wisdom. But in order to gain such wisdom, we must cultivate compassion, because it is through compassion that the self-clinging mind will go away, just like an ice block melting. And so the afflictive emotions and self-grasping are like blocks of ice floating on the ocean. And they are ice, they are water, so even though the mind is really Buddha, still temporarily it's like ice blocks bumping into each other, and there is actual suffering, even though they are Buddha or water by nature. So this is the difference between Buddhas and sentient beings. It is a difference of being mature or immature. And whatever empowerment we receive, this is the purpose of any empowerment. And then empowerment is also what distinguishes the sutras from the tantras. And the empowerment is a method to mature or to ripen the mind. And that's why it is actually called the ripening empowerment. So, and this is my brief introduction to you for the empowerment. And next we will read the historical background.
그래서 나는 톡 님이 이제 하면 잡듯어 좀 라그 센터 냠도 요래스 잡로 가리 잡그래 소소리 다디 이기는 초거든 바티 나디 데레들이 지는 송그래 이기는 초거도 이기는 초건 콩은 나와라더니 적디가 감 장을 뭐 팔로들이 딱 보신 감만 보러 치네 생각을 사제를 사제를 남아를 동 데이터들이 냠 나와있대. 감정을 발 펴비 나와 샤를 했지. 동물들이 대 욕탈 가래들이 랑 싸움 만나니 제때 좀 야치랑 생냐도로들이 리지 근데 그가 때와 내가 들이 똑똑 못한데 내 속을 등이 지요. 따때 이 다도 산지 공박대 데이터들이 또 냠니들이 파티를 더 탑만 보도 송을 더 탑만 보고 감내서 와더니 드니 야치네 드니 다데 싸우면 야치만데 이쪽으로 몇천 좀 대바디 이기는 저 보트지 동다 거래 나그 딱 홀로는 하더니 라니 잡았던 거동들이 뒤도 탁뒤에 또 때려 또는 되지 싫었대 싫어 랑그 따따따보나 제때 좀 나오나 봐도 파 매가서는 제때 좀 트인데 뒤당인지 차가 차오는 오다가 제때 좀 냠도 저는 치게도 저는 데이터가 따따고도 니디요 바카라들이 제때 좀 때파이지 다른 지치 뭐구나 뒤나와도 단티랑 먹더니 답고 생데 뉴모가 단디나야 탄도고 요래 니 자고 저도래 좋다가 때 하짝 때 사고리 니 셈냠도 요래 때 다 가래들 Sam Niji on a jetty drumari, jetty room assembly, Samba Niji, Delish, Delatity, Shirap Tabjet, jetty room assembly, Sajit Tabjet, Shirap Chimbori, Niji Chimbori, or Teta Mutu Hat done to Chavi Chawa, Yore, this is the same crown district in Boy Bella, the two get the rose in the teacher not to Shirap the Yobatella, the injectors of Google story. She just suggests our kid. Shirap with Chatham just had a garden late. You get Shirap daily so much you get Chatham just had a garden late. Saji Kaka, your marriage. You shall be a chair so much that some did it. You just Daddy army was Samsung, Jada, Saji Compound, the song, the Gothic North of somebody. This is which took immediate hamid of the sword. Tower told that it was some hack or race. Tawa Matokoli, Niji young thing was telling Niji. There are to ship I would have did the Rumareson. The hot out in the Tabima things up for the Rumarang, Tamsi Drummond and this or that in the Tendon. Hot out in its rap symbol.
So this verse here and the 7 verses of supplication to Tara, so this goddess of non-dual mind, what this actually shows is that Tara is actually together with our mind, is in our mind. So then if Tara is in our mind, then how does she protect us? Who really protects us? And so that is actually shown in this sadhana here, the wish-fulfilling jewel, treasure, teachings. So how, which is also in a bit in the history. So the Rinpoche Punsok and Derton, and to him it appeared, Tara appeared to him in a pure vision. And so what appeared to him is that she took him and brought him to limitless pure lands, countless pure lands way beyond this world, this universe. And so she brought him to one pure land after the other, and in each pure land he met the Buddha there, and he received teachings from the Buddha there, and then they went on and on and on. So this is how it appeared to him. But then in the end of reading this text, then it becomes clear that what actually happened is that, so the text begins with that story of how she brought him here and there, and then in the end it becomes clear what actually happened. And so what actually happened is that her mind, the wisdom mind, was traveling from through the chakras, from the secret to the navel and so on, within the central channel. The wisdom wind, or the energy, was moving upwards through the central channel from chakra to chakra to chakra. And as this happened, the vision appeared of going from Pure Land to Pure Land and receiving the teachings of those Buddhas there. So she brought him actually from the lowest chakras through the navel and the heart and so forth. Actually, here it speaks of 7 chakras all the way to out from the crown. And then ultimately, when he reached the highest chakra, then he melted, he merged with the ultimate space and attained enlightenment. So this is now how it is explained in the commentary to this text, the pure vision that he had. And so mainly it was the movement of the mind, the wisdom mind through the chakras, moving through the central channel, through the chakras, and then various signs of accomplishment step by step appeared. And so really what happened is that concept of me or the self is dissolved into the central channel Dharmakaya. And so it is said that elsewhere, it is also said that the mandala is established within your own mind. So this is the same meaning. So whose wisdom now is that, this wisdom mind that has been actualized in this way? It is, all these appearances really are the projections of the own pure mind that is free of all dualistic thought. There's no thought of me. And for example, if you just think of Tara, then there is no dualistic thinking. And it's really because of that, because of just thinking of Tara, and also there being a very subtle and dualistic thought, that it appeared to him that Tara took him and brought him here and there. And this vision may appear when someone has a great faith and trust in the deity, any Yidam deity. Then things like that appear, which are actually the projection of one's own mind. So it's really one's own wisdom mind traveling through the central channel upward. And what is really happening is like the melting of the ice block as the mind kind of unravels itself and becomes released. So this text is actually extremely profound. It really, so now speaking about the 7 verses of Supplication to Tara, it really shows how Tara is within your own mind. And you actualize it when you cultivate love and compassion. Then you recognize that Tara is within your mind. And she is the wisdom in your mind, and she is the compassion in your mind. And we have wisdom and compassion, but our wisdom and compassion are very, very small. But still we have it, and because all beings possess Buddha nature. Even animals, for example, they also have wisdom to a certain degree because they possess Buddha nature. And so that is what is Thigden Sumgön, what he meant with everything that is done in the field of knowable things in this world is done by Buddha. So everything that you do is done by this wisdom mind. And therefore this wisdom is Buddha, and your own compassion is Buddha. And when you never separate from them, you really never separate from Tara, you never separate from Buddha. And ultimately, when you never separate from it and your wisdom and your compassion become very great, then all self-grasping becomes completely cleared away, and the mind becomes vast like space, and you attain the state of enlightenment. So this is also how it is explained in the Gongchik, so this quote by Thigden Sumgön. And also here, this is how it is explained in the 7 verses of Supplication to Tara. So when you realize what we call the view, or the natural state of the mind, you realize that Tara is within your own mind. And for as long as you have not yet realized the nature of your mind, when there is a dualistic grasping, this is where you have to make effort again and again to cultivate compassion and to recognize that this compassion in my mind, this mindfulness, this mind, this conscientious mind, this is the mind of Tara. So in any case, the 7 verses of protection to Tara, that is an extremely profound prayer, which is why everyone recites this prayer, and it contains many great blessings. Story.
Padrol the crew Nabda Gadala, Sopajawa, Jinkar took the water, he helped the treasure, Papa Chile to be number Namdi, Samsara, you take a to Toba so, Roman Mundunga Jeva, Songsin, Sakpa Seperman there, Tebabi, the young Kukamo Yimla, you might be several. To me, Chibdan, your Marze, Delatini, Yami Taposo, but you Lamanaje, Todan Zebe, Cotton Tassi, Javan Richi, but what the sound they need to be, you know, talk about top. Kogong Madi Batamje, young Chidala, about no private note, Papa, you Minipa, so you did you Langbe. Lama Pama Dumangui, Yambe,
in English. In the past, she developed the mind of bodhicitta in the presence of many Buddhas, such as the Buddha Vipashi drum beat, She was born from the compassionate tears of Chenrezig, who strove to liberate sentient beings. As she fulfilled the Noble One's enlightened activities, Vairocana proclaimed the praise called homage to the 21 Taras. This is explained extensively in the Tara Deliverance Tantra. Moreover, the life-extending mother, who appears as Pandaravasini, the white-robed goddess and consort of the Buddha Amitayus, destroys the Lord of untimely death. For this reason, the peerless Gampopa and other Kagyu masters have reached their maximum lifespan through practicing her sadhana. Gyalwang Rinchen Phuntsok received the wish-fulfilling jewel treasure teachings in a pure vision from White Tara herself. Her qualities are beyond expression. For instance, if you merely visualize her form and recite her mantra, the harm caused by even 100,000 evil forces, such as the Lord of Death, will not even cause your hair tips to rise. Thus, seeing the Guru as Tara herself, we take refuge and we give rise to bodhicitta.
Om Veda Sato Samaya Mane Palaya Veda Sato Tino Ba Titane No Meba Sate Kayo Meba Wa Sabe Jayo Meba Anara To Meba Wa Sava Sete Meba Yeta Sava Koma Tatam Chiyam Guru Hong Ha Ho Bhagavate Taram Memeta Ayatare Bhagama Samaya Sato Om Sata Sahagata Abeki Gade Samaya Jere Anyone go to Meda Mago Meda.
So next in order to receive the empowerment, we will next offer a mandala.
In the yellow prayer book, on page 7, mandala offering, an infinite array of worlds, each with 4 continents and the wealth of infinite oceans of realms. If I bring them all to mind and offer them without exception, please hold with compassion all the beings they contain. My body, enjoyments, and whatever I own, my aggregates, elements, and sense sources, my aspirations now and in times to come, as well as everything I grasp as mine. By offering them all, may I be blessed with the end of self-grasping, completely liberated from the bounds of real and unreal, transcending the names and concepts of arising, cessation, and abiding, coming and going, affirmation and denial. The supreme mandala is the natural state. By offering it, may I be blessed to attain the state of Buddhahood. Om Guru Deva Da Kini Ratna Mandala Prakticha Swoha.
Somawa Juda, one of the Maji, and the little mother, Oma, Savamegania, Savamegani, Balidaka, Yale, Savamegani, Mahawata, Yomagan, Savatagan, Katia Saparana, Imaka, Kagan, Balida, so non jelly, Jadu, no sepon, Peter the Barra, Batake, Almost Suman, hold on, by other over. Something repairs to what you mean. Bezara Jara Jar. It's what you did, Mama Romana, such a tissue, Sajet and the Nakara Tipong Sapan is your Rosa. Then it's on so that now it's.
I'm thinking that Now, in the center of space is Noble Lady Tara, surrounded by all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions and the 3 times. So visualizing that, I think that in their presence you take refuge and cultivate bodhicitta.
Namo Sangye Chu Cho Gung Zhong Di Ma La Ro Jiang Qi Zhang Shuk Sen Ji To.
In English, Namo, in the Mother Victress, the embodiment of all the Buddhas, Dharma, and Sangha, I and all beings take refuge and give rise to bodhicitta.
Tadi Jabro Siji Sungder, Tadi Jabton Rola, Kosotum Jabton Road, Govati Tumuti, so Kovade, Dagi Nidin Tolgo, Kovade Tolgore, Kovade Tongati, Dagi Nidin Tolgore, Sende, they Tolgore, 3 타다 진피로 다기고 진피로 사적 심지 받은 우리 사제를 잡준로와 드리테 주를 잡준로 개인을 잡준로와 고쳐선데 사제를 잡준로와 sen 니dim에 내려 동쪽 버체 주를 잡준로와 상행제 공화들이 드리테들 사적 심지 개인이 무슨 되는 고쳐선을 잡준로 나는 고쳐선 대다를
So here actually the refuge and motivation of bodhicitta I unified in one verse. And because what's the actual meaning of taking refuge in the 3 jewels? So the reason why we take refuge in the 3 jewels is because we want to become liberated from samsara. And the way to become liberated from samsara is to become liberated from the dualistic grasping in self and other. And the way to become liberated from that is through cultivating the altruistic mind. So therefore, the real refuge is actually bodhicitta. So we take refuge in the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha, the 3 jewels. We take refuge in the Buddha in order to realize the nature of mind that is free of dualistic grasping. And taking refuge in the Dharma means to cultivate love and compassion. And the mind of bodhicitta is actually the Sangha. And so this is how we actually take refuge in the 3 jewels, or this is what we call the inner 3 jewels.
너나 짬로 탐체 다소 동대반들이 산지를 잡고 이제 시합을 뭐 어떻게 코바가 드린 하고 그래. 난 코바들 타고도 당가 잡지도 마시고 사람들이 시합을 해. 대래 니 타고는 랑 다지 산지랑 샘도 산지에 대 산지 뭐 하고 오면도 대 가리 이제 하고 오면도 나도 세고도 다 줄이 다 니 사지를 잡수면 이게 공부도 없어. 니를 공부 때리 yin sang ji gom de tang ni sa je ta lo re o sang ni ji gom chu jang se gom chu da ji ni ji se ne sa ba che mi ju le chi ne chu lang sa ti sang je de ta chu ge lu ba re chu yin no ji de bang ji bi ji de sang ni ji chi me del ge lu ba la go re ni ko cho so la ju le cha le ta lo kon ta to ba de che de ne do yo re
And then, so when the ultimate meaning or the purpose of taking refuge in the 3 jewels. So when we take refuge in the Buddha, we say that the heart essence of the Buddha is your own wisdom, your own mind. So that is what you take refuge in ultimately. And what that means is that with wisdom you recognize samsara is only suffering, and I want to become liberated from samsara. I must by all means become free from samsara. Therefore, I must take the refuge vow. So that is your inner wisdom, that's your inner Buddha, and that's your actual refuge. It's your own mind, your inner Buddha. So your own mind is actually Buddha, but then we don't know that. And why don't we not know that? It's because we grasp at a duality of self and other. So when you realize that, then you see that what I must get rid of is that self. And I can only do that by cultivating compassion. So therefore, compassion becomes your refuge. So really, when you cultivate love and compassion for others, then you are truly taking refuge in the Buddha. And when you cultivate love and compassion, then the self-grasping will diminish and you will attain enlightenment. Then you are a Sangha. Then such a person, any person that possesses this mind of love and compassion, or someone who benefits others and who doesn't harm others, is what we call a Sangha. And so this is how the three jewels have actually come to your own minds. You have recognized them within your own mind. So the meaning of this ultimate refuge is included within these words here.
Sentient pingos, Sentient carga pingo, Samsara pingo is. Niji not Niji Chung Mato Madok, Niji Chibo go says, Niji people the Gypsy Maris, or the Gypsy Roma Lam, the Roma Costume China, the Gypsy Roma Coyetry, some Jeter, Tongue, Somatini, Sentient pingos, the Gypsy Roma pingo, the Lam to Taco Gongo, Gypsy Roma, Colamsi goes all the time.
So then first you think now, so I need to benefit beings, but how can I benefit beings? Well, you can benefit beings if you cultivate love and compassion. But then my love and my compassion is so small. How can I benefit them? Where can I find more? I need more love and compassion. Who has it? Tara has it. And so therefore, when you recognize that, when you know that Tara possesses such great love and compassion, then Tara's form appears in your mind instantly. And when she appears, her love and compassion are absorbed or kind of merge with your own mind. So now I want to benefit all sentient beings. And how can I do that? Who has great compassion? It is Tara. And therefore, now everyone bring to mind at once the form of Tara in your mind.
Yo want me here go bear, the Mequatation and Doja, so one Tongman Ganley, Roma, Choran, Pede Dina, if you call Casa Chorum and Yamdin, the Bell of Don't Tipi, Departed, Departation, Lateja, Lapa, Sai, Chojin, Saja, the young Chojin, Apala, you are talking. Nesum dress of two family who got to be of Gijan in it. Gompas of the Richum, Jumba, and Johnny Roman, Subscription by Maya, better Samaya, Maya, you want it, you want go Din Cho Loi Wan Go Ve Dan Chen Me Te Do Ji Go Zhe Wang Zo Jo Dari Du Dari Mama Kala Ya Be Ge Da Hong Dari Du Dari Mama Kala Ya Be Ge Da Hong Dari Du Dari Mama Kala Ya Abe Ge Da Hong Dari Yuan Nga De Je Ti Lu Ma Nga Re Dari Da Na Ka Zhen Da Cha Ba Ta Ji Je Ti Lu Ma Re O De Sa Be Dari Cha Ba Ba Dari Za Ba Le Hu Ju Tang Ji Le Dari Je Ti Lu Ma Ko Tam Song Sa Dari Rang Je To Dari Je Ti Lu Ma Ko De Ti Ju Na Ji Ba Cha Shi Bo Ba Ba Na Je Tam So Gong Go Re Ji
And the 5 elements are the 5 taras. So everything, the rain and the clouds and so on, are all tara. And so now think that her blessings fall down like raindrops and permeate the entire world, the entire universe and all beings. And Tara's form dissolves into all of them, and then also dissolves into your own crown. And then her nectar blessings enter your crown, just like from snowflakes melting on a lake.
Di Gong Bo Wang Top Dong Di Mo Go Gong Ba La Wang Mo Song Di Wang Ji Da La Di Da Din Je Wa Tang Xi Ba Song Gu Yo Ren Di Di Ma Re Da Chu Go Gong Chok Ba Go Wang Top Yo Re Da De Li Chu Gu Mi Chu Go Dong Di Ne Chu La Go Pa Ji Ro Re Di Di Je Di Mo Go De Sen Krang Je Di Nong Ma Nong Ji Cha Ro Go Yo Re Da Gong Chok Ba Wang Top Re Song
In the empowerment text, then it says, having received the vase of form empowerment, you are now empowered to visualize the Bhagavati's form. So in other empowerment texts, it also mentions it mentions the result that will be accomplished and so on, but not here. It just says you are empowered to visualize her form. And so that means that you're not just speaking about a result in the future, but an ongoing process. You have to remember her all the time continuously, and not forget about her. And you do that by recognizing that Tara is your mind. Actually, she is your mind. So receiving the empowerment which empowers you to visualize her form or meditate on her form means that now, on an ongoing basis, continuously, you should meditate on her.
Tare mama aye jana pune patam goro sowa.
Tare mama aye jana pune patam goro sowa.
Ti songa wang so jong di de ma song ha la wa wang o. Da de ma da chou ge yo ye. Ma de ka re ji na. Go go de chen gen ga wan ba din ze ba ta ji. 라지 자동지 니제 똑바데 되다 자라티니 니 친이 차당원도 똑바데 자고요 깨자 니바데 또 수반 일랑 참 소화되어 대자 똥바지 막 자들 초박한요 막 배세다 자가 집아타지 다 우리 자가 집아타 이게 다 소리 들으셔도 잡아줘요 지들이 다 던지면 송하다가 동태 자동지 니제 똑바 대다 그래
Having received the mantra speech empowerment, you are now empowered to recite the Bhagavati's mantra. And so now you are empowered to recite Tara's mantra. And so by being empowered to visualize her form, and you visualize her form, that purifies all grasping at appearances. And when you recite her mantra, that purifies the thoughts that, kind of clinging thoughts that conflate, like the thoughts and like our ideas, that conflate ideas and the object. So basically, we attribute a meaning to the object, and then it's because of sound that we develop all kinds of thoughts, these concepts in our mind, which then cling to that this is true. So there's thoughts of attachment and aversion that arise due to sound. For example, when you hear something negative being said, then it feels almost like somebody's like you're hit by a rock or so. So a very intense feeling arises. And actually, when you look at it, it is not actually there. It doesn't really exist. It's completely empty. It just appears that way because you are conflating thoughts with the outer object or the meaning that you hear about. And so that is what needs to be purified. This kind of clinging thoughts that conflate our concepts with the actual object or the outer appearance. So that needs to be purified. And every time you purify clinging to sound, you purify this kind of conflating fixation. And basically, until you have completely purified all these fixations, you have to recite the mantra.
Mama jala ba beken da He talk something jo wang talk teng ne go ma wang o song. Gang yin na me to dam ge lang je yo les. Lang a to tan ko na yo les. Lu ji de lo ru ko na de yo les. Yin na tin ko na lam to dam ba center pa cha yo ne. De ke tan ko go yo les. 가래는 출발이 루디 센데 계시요 말이지. 센데 박차 살고 저기 센 박차 빼는 제당도 제당 초아대들 이 초아대 따르바래 초아대 deputy 롱랑스 트레이너디 초아 파빌 돌 초아대 마지나 파로르지 나고 진짜 파로르 내가 말이 빼세도 하고는 들이 샘탄 남과다만 남도 좀 봤다서 대배만 담지 말고 봐서 대라서 봤더니 너는 샘나 뭔가 박차 살면서 박차지 남상 시합을 초르들이 박차들 매 봤던 거래 박차들 맞을 봤다.
So this flower is an example of our mind, because the lotus flower is born, or it arises, it grows from the mud, but it remains pure. And so similarly, we live in samsara. Our bodies dwell anywhere in the 6 realms of samsara, and that is because we have created many karmic imprints in our mind due to the various thoughts appearing. So it is these thoughts that place imprints into the mind, and that's how we keep wandering in samsara. So recognize that as delusion. It is just the body, but the mind transcends birth and death. And what appears is nothing but the manifestation of your own karmic imprint. So for example, when anger arises, when this feeling of anger arises, recognize it as delusion. When this feeling arises, remember Tara instantly. When you remember Tara instantly, then that feeling will disappear. It will go away just like a cloud vanishing in the sky. So the point is that the feeling will not stay. It will go away if you do not hold on to it. So the mind is like space, and the thoughts, those feelings, are like clouds in the sky. And the lotus flower mind is pure, like a lotus arisen or grown from the mud. And so in brief, for this empowerment, what you need to practice, for the mind empowerment, is that whenever a thought appears, this habitual karmic thought appears, immediately, instantly recognize it with clear awareness and let it go. And you practice this until there are no more karmic imprints.
The hata garchiari, the kami shokami, oh, Sedang the Lana, the Sedang Layerke, say Yotim Master, Sedang having war. The Sedang is a troll of the trotting man, that quit the shabby. Shabby, the Sedang the Lambi, the Metaposito Bani, Troamiva and Dory, Shelter Unit the Dela. This is a Pachayo over Silogori, Nimu Yishila, main song. The data of Newman Bakari shocked the Domong yi tang sewa, xedang long tang sewa, docha wang tang sewa, asong, nimong tong sem de se asong gong ni teni, rang senten dong, senten dama de, senten dama ji, song, di pakcha ma yara teni changi le, pakcha yakwe teni pakcha teni duwa zhong lo le, di hako le, di tata le hawa yara, pakcha sang le, sang song di, senang me ten tong lo, jikjak chowa be, 이 박사를 몇번 소리 양자를 고통한 거지. 대표지 주망 받을 때 박사를 다 감마다 다 깼던 거랬어. 네, 해당 롱당 세와지. 또 니당 세와는 노차 왕당 세와송 대통령 보다 다 같이 답지 되는 거요라. 해당 롱당 세와졌다. 좀 뭐시想想 여든지 제게며 해당된 거요리. 님몽 동안 해당 답이 뜻밤에스. 독주들이 해당돼 대상 쪽으로 늘때 하고 정말
So that's an extremely important point. So this wisdom here, this clear awareness of what is it really in a practical way. So, for example, when you get angry, then with awareness or wisdom, you don't look at the object of your anger, but you look at the essence of the anger itself. So you look at the feeling of anger, and that one that looks at the feeling of anger, sees that, oh, there's anger, that one is your wisdom. And so then when you look at the anger, then naturally, slowly, it will just disappear. Just like a fire burning away wood, it will just naturally disappear. And then when this awareness is sustained for a long time, you will not place any further karmic imprints into your mind. And that is when the afflictive emotions then ripen into primordial wisdom. So you practice with whichever of the afflictive emotions is the strongest. So for instance, you awaken from ignorance through sleep, and then desire is related to like a kind of magnetizing activity, and then anger through like when the anger arises. So when it arises, so then you look at this arising, this wind that appears, and when you recognize it with clear awareness, then you will not place an imprint into your mind, and the mind remains pure. And then that mind is a Buddha. So actually, it could be quite simple. So when you think about those imprints that arise within the mind. So first, you have to recognize it when they arise, when this feeling arises. there's this feeling that arises. And if you place an imprint, if this feeling has placed an imprint in your mind, let's say you get angry at somebody and then this you can't let go, but maybe you forget about it for a time being, but because you didn't really let it go, there still is this imprint in the mind, and the sign of that is that, for example, the next time you see the person, again, that feeling of anger arises. So then you begin to think about what happened in the past, and you think about the future. And so this is how you should, this is how you should see it when, or recognize it when these feelings arise. For example, the anger is now related to is the waking up through the winds, and so actually it is said that of the 5 afflictive emotions, actually anger is the easiest to let go, but also it's the most destructive. It is said of the 5 afflictive emotions, there is no greater evil than anger or hatred. So it's actually the worst.
Sorry, you're chatting something. Painting Nidi Chapati, Marriage, Tiki Marie, similar Nero told Nero Hako, suggestible, that on goes. The more you thought the other, the Malam wishing, you took yourself, suburb that the Malam, the Jete, don't tell the motor to see us answer.
So hatred or anger is it kind of mixes or kind of becomes absorbed into the wind energy. So that is now when strong anger arises and you recognize it instantly. So what it merges with is your clear awareness, and merging with clear awareness, the anger is already lost. And for desire, we are merging a desire with magnetizing. We've said so, but that refers to is the practices that generate the 4 levels of bliss, whereby one recognizes the nature of bliss. So when a strong feeling of bliss arises and you look at its nature, you recognize that that bliss is actually not contingent upon the other person, but it is actually the natural state of the mind when all ordinary thinking has stopped. So at the moment of bliss, all ordinary thoughts have stopped, and that natural state that is thought-free is naturally blissful. And then you recognize that this bliss does not arise because of another person. The other person is more maybe a conducive factor, but it's not the cause, it's the bliss of your own mind. And so therefore, when you realize its nature, therefore you let go of dualistic grasping. You become non-dual. And so that is the introduction of Mahamudra, where you're introduced to the union of bliss and emptiness. And then there is the merging of sleep or ignorance with sleep, and that is connected to the practices of recognizing the luminosity of the dream state and the luminosity of the deep sleep state. So there are these 3 kind of practices of merging or dissolving the 3 afflictive emotions.
Something you mong to some stars on custom. The book do chat song shed on talk with it. That the means on it, you mong talk some the custom to the pain over your head. Mamina Yumong Tosu.
So ultimate, these three empowerments are the three secrets or the three vajras, which is the vajra of form is the empty appearances is the vajra of form, and empty sounds is the vajra of speech, and empty awareness is the vajra of the mind. And the three vajras are also related to the purification of body, speech, and mind, or the three poisons. So in terms of body, speech, and mind, and the three poisons, ignorance is form, desire, attachment is speech, and anger or hatred is the mind. So when the three poisons ripen, they ripen into the enlightened body, speech, and mind. In the unripe state, they are the ordinary three afflictive emotions.
나도 그러지 조 망보도 통세 조 망보는 난 세미 라지가 tuk발에서는 적디 집었다 통거리 자타 통들 가레시를 대키시를 자치를 자도리 되는 거 보지 님이 되라서 봐 삼세 저때 tiktal도 자타도 작자다 그래 가래는 tiktal은 자는 집안에 받아들이 작동성도 제 니티 동가를 또 톡도리들 세랑 그 지식을 빠테게 남도 소화되지라 누가 침모도 마셔봤더니 쳐다보라비들 미저래 변을 쳐라를 뭐지 소도시는 세는 남도 가래서 조자저로 가래는 세는 소화지와데 시합을 쳐 시합들 나철대 파 소화돼 지서 말하는 들이 강자들 밤에 봐차고 들이 도지스는데 도지 가리 샘코랑 도지 좀 공방에 때려 받치 조금 말해 때려 샘코랑 도지 장도 내 타고 요래지 내일 조라트로 되게 초월 효수들이 가서도 코알 참고 요래지 빼지다가 동태리 도지 언제 나 동작 우리 동지 저를 동태우는더니 네가 요래라 이게 요래 저를 동지 진시 있었다 너가 당대 쫄람 뜻이 장성 라리수지는 때 대호탈이 직감들이 소아티 와서들이 하고들이 또 토게지 올라들이 참아 돌지스만 이게 요래지
So now that is then the experience that arises when you accomplish those three vajras. So for the vajra of form or empty appearances, which is the vajra of form, then when you actualize the vajra of form, then even though you see many different forms, you know that the inner mind, our inner mind, is one and the same. And therefore you will perceive all outer forms, people's bodies, as a delusion. Then empty sound, the vajra of speech, is that no matter what you hear, it all is the same. It's like hearing like how to say it, chirping birds, bird songs. So basically, it doesn't matter what you hear, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. You will hear it like an echo. Nothing really exists. And so therefore there is no fixation to sound. So when there is no fixation to sound, that's empty sound or the vajra of speech. And then the purpose of these two vajras is to actualize empty awareness, which is the vajra of the mind. And it is realized when you sustain mindfulness, which recognizes all thoughts and all feelings, all these fixations, our beliefs in the true existence of something in our minds, to recognize all of them with mindfulness, and then just letting them come and go like waves on water. In Dzogchen also, it is called, these thoughts disappear just like a picture drawn on water. So that is the empty mind or empty appearances of the mind, the empty thoughts. So whatever feeling arises, for example, when you come into contact with any of the sense objects of form, sound, smell, touch, and so on, and these generate a feeling in you, you should instantly recognize it with mindfulness and then continue on in that state of mindfulness without pursuing that feeling. And then the feeling itself will not cause any harm or affect you in one or the other way. And so then the ultimate meaning of those vajras is that ultimately then when there is no grasping in the mind, your mind becomes vajra. And vajra is like the state of vajradhara. And when the mind is like a vajra, then there will be no obstacles. So then whenever you encounter any outer objects of form, sound, smell, touch, and so on, you will not become carried away by them. If you do become carried away by them, then you will continue to wander in samsara. So these are the three vajras, and of the three vajras, the most important one is the vajra of the mind, empty awareness. And actually, the vajra of form and the vajra of speech are naturally included within the vajra of the mind. And the vajra of the mind mainly is mindfulness for us. It is to sustain mindfulness at all times. As it is said in the 37 practices in verse number 36, in brief, whatever you do, always look at the state of your mind. And looking at your mind, do not cling, do not grasp at a single thing. Recognize instantly every feeling that arises within you. And if you do so, then naturally the mind abides as the vajra of mind, the vajra mind that is empty awareness, wherein the other vajras, all the vajras are complete.
도지 섬근왕이들이 통 톡도지지 하짝기 잊어버리. 내가 도지 섬는 거를 못 줬는데 레이드면은 세사고 요래 책임용을 디는 통 톡도지지 나게다 다쳐도 로그 이런 것들 가리 됐다 이지 요들 좋아요 뉴몽 동네 똑바 째셔야 뭔서 지주 로이 주면요 좋아랑 사이자고 주거를 줄 그거랑 로지라만 소화돼 됐다 저쪽으로 뭐 비면은 라는 따라 요래 됐다 도지스인데 그걸 못지 solder 레이드면은 요래 대양당양도 로로 대소소 하고 또 그래.
Of the three vajras, the most important one is the vajra of mind, of empty awareness. And there is a supplication by Guru Rinpoche, which is called the 7 chapter supplication. It's a very short but very clear supplication. And so Rinpoche just read that to you in the form of a reading, like a transmission. That is one supplication which basically said that I supplicate to my own intrinsic pure awareness that is liberated in the natural state of the Dharmakaya if I do not, if it does not grasp at whatever thoughts and feelings move or kind of stir the mind. So this is so basically the essence of that prayer, but you can read that yourself. So it's the 7 chapter supplication by Guru Rinpoche. Also you can read that again and again. Then you understand the meaning.
드리프레메 또 봐요. 지람지 그 미들 다 미고 것도 상고 말이 이제 받을 пар이 초아제고 총기 될라 거래. 총기 시바테고 총 시바티나 내일 강아제고 말이 들이 이실을 들고 요래지.
So in the supplication it mentions this kind of letting the movements of the thought of the mind, the movements of the mind settle into the natural state. So that means that whatever feeling arises, you instantly must recognize that feeling. So and then all you need to do is just stay in the awareness. Just to stay in only that awareness that there is of this feeling. And then just naturally, it will settle in itself on its own. And so what it means is that you don't have to think, no, I need to get rid of it. I need to get rid of that feeling. But just naturally, it is just like the meeting of, the awareness meeting with the feeling is just like the meeting of, again, incense with fire. So like instantly, it becomes one. So the awareness itself, the movement itself, which is that feeling, the feeling itself is intrinsic awareness. And so whenever it arises, the one that feels it, the one that experiences the feeling, that awareness is your intrinsic awareness, and all you need to do is continue on in it, just sustain it. Then there is no need to be afraid of anything at all. Then whatever arises becomes transformed into primordial wisdom.
그 다다마다 그 막고서는 가리 고를 못해서 첫달 종의 연상 다 빠다는데 내 비디오가 이제 다 빠리 내가 드라마를 님고 로버를 쳐바리 때도 내가 말이지 이제 다 빠리데 다다 마다번 나와데 드마리지 그 로버 박차리면 그때서 로버 박차리에서 그 내지면 첫달 종의 연상 다 빠다는데 첫종의 연상이 다좀 참아 닭발이 또 대발람 저기는 나도 좀 생이 좋았다 다 생을 이제 매가 차 생을 이제 매가 차라 이거로 차을 참아 닭발이 내가 지금 랩으로 다 참아 어떤 내가 지에 됐다 생을 지을 됐다 문이 됐다 마다발 마지는더니 나도 좀 생이 좋았다 바드 사랑 뭐시 봐라 바드들이라고 생을 내로 돌더니 sempre corday tab지 탑대요 봐. sempre 이제 영 봐. 그런 거 생각나 타와 형대와나 이들이 잡고 요리. 그래서 대세도 투지 달리나 아주 좋아서 절로 어떤 거를 뭐지. 좀 말이 또 다난 같이 말이. 그 탐지에 다난 같이 말이. 따뜻한 참만 코비 중지가 중저저 들어만 개비신 중가래도 용띠 빠다만 타올 용띠 빠다면 봐. 자들이 이 뒤에서는 통지 쫑탑지 용띠 탑지 쫑는 토고요 따라시네 대다에 용띠 쫑는 통이지라는 거 계산을 줘라 그러면 용띠 파로베들이 예신이 쫑나야 요 말이 예신이 쫑 제답 통나 대답이 라는 거 라는 것들이 많고 안 지금 대답 하고로 누구 제일 답발이 사도 강에서는 까리 딱 왔어 거요 사진 좀 니들 까리 생기는 사진이 있어오네 데이터를 쌓으러 땅 것들이 다 상하겠다 이제는 이제 죽어요
And so what's most important here for us is that so the Vajrayana is a path of a pure view. So a pure view or pure perception is most important. And so we speak much about this is pure, this is impure, this is good and bad and so on. But so this pure view is also in this supplication by Guru Rinpoche. And so then also in the supplication it says that then through a pure view all the perceptions of outer appearances become purified by your recognizing that on the basis, fundamentally, all appearances, everything that appears and exists, and all beings are pure. And only temporarily, there are all sorts of appearances. These are all temporary delusions. They are not real. Fundamentally, on the basis, everything is pure. And whatever appears as impure is false, is a delusion. It is only the appearance of a temporary karmic imprint. And therefore, when you see it this way, you will not believe in its true existence. And if you do not cling to its true existence, then eventually all outer appearances, everything that manifests, will be seen as completely pure. So then instantly and spontaneously, faith arises. No matter who you encounter, naturally faith and devotion arises. There's this pure view that is already there. So, and this is then what is meant in this prayer, how the mind becomes liberated. So when there is no grasping in the mind becomes liberated. The mind becomes released, or naturally is placed into a state of relaxation and complete ease and great bliss. It's like when you come to the Pure Land, it's like coming to the Pure Land of Dewa Chen. Then you feel like, oh, this is Dewa Chen. You experience everything. This is the Pure Land. This is great bliss. And then there is nothing more that is seen as impure. When there is nothing that you see as impure, the mind is completely liberated. And then you realize the nature of the mind. When you realize the nature of the mind, you realize that it is vast, like space, pervading everything, samsara and nirvana. Everything is pervaded by your mind. And it's all the nature of that mind. And there is nothing else whatsoever that exists. Everything, appearance and existence, is encompassed by this mind. So this is how you will experience reality then. It all is really your own mind. So this is the meaning of this supplication prayer by Guru Rinpoche. And so what's most important is a pure perception toward the universe and all beings. And so this is what we don't do specifically. We only and always see the faults in everything and everyone. For example, when people meet a spiritual teacher, they look at what is his faults. They try to find their faults. And they are unable to see even just one good quality in them. And so, and even they kind of mixed qualities and faults. So what actually is a good quality, they see it as a fault and so on. It's because they don't know how to view things how they really are. And as a result of that, that is really your own loss in the end. For example, if you criticize a spiritual teacher, it's really your own loss and not the loss of that teacher. The more negativity you see, the more you bring yourself down, and the greater becomes your bondage to samsara. So recognize that and see that actually everything that appears and exists is completely pure. In Dzogchen or also in Mahamudra, it is referred to as the original or primordial purity. Everything is original purity. Or the Buddha himself said, all sentient beings are actually Buddhas. And that is the actual view of the secret mantra of the Vajrayana. So when you see things in a pure way, then you have, for once and for all actually, established finally you have established a foundation of Vajrayana practice. So at this point in the empowerment text, we are we're eating a longevity, a long life pill, which is like a blessing pill. And so also actually a blessing pill like that is, a long life pill is like a mani pill or a dutsi, like a blessing pill. So you can take one of those pills, whichever one you have, and it doesn't matter from which lineage. And so this is what we always actually do when we receive an empowerment. And so take one now and then also eat those pills each and every day.
같이 말아 때 그도 저 그만은 다 되는 말이 사람이 봐도 랑그 사 일 때부터 걸 가세 때부터는 실질이 참고를 많이 미고래 사람 야기 걸 때고래 랑그 사 쇼케도 또사 대지 죽기 쳐보요래 사람 자마요.
And so the people have collect so many different blessing pills, like the money pills or any other pills, and then often because they're a little selfish, they hold on to those pills and they keep them in their little pouch, and they don't give anything away to anybody else. And sometimes they even give it to me. But all of that's a big mistake. You should give it to others. You shouldn't just hold on to it like that, because the purpose is to spread. That's the purpose of these pills. They should reach everyone because they are a method to mature, to ripen sentient beings' body, speech, and mind. So don't hold on to them. Don't try to kind of keep them. You have to eat them and you have to pass them on. And when you eat them, you should eat every day in the morning. And eat them every day continuously. So don't be miserly with your blessings.
좀 늦으면서 또 특히 지제다고 나에들에서 엄마 가왔어. 아베라캬라캬서 와. 나한테다른 밤에 이거를 와서 뭐 렉바 토네. 그리고 소통제 네 탐색이 근데 좀 싸냐 배에 지르고 소들이 또이다 가서라 대다답게 나가 지디체가 요래다티 다 송체 탐제 수트가 쳤고 요마 소소랑 쳤고 요마에 다 타고 탐색이 하고들이 다 타고 슬랍 자소게 배는 잡을 주고 접시 자타봐요네요. 저렇게 쳐도 또 먹어도 나를 쳐 시발 찍어야 돼. 저거 찍어야 돼. 저런 거 사이에 단 가리를 찍기 먹을 예당 탐체 되게요. 예당 탐체 되니 탐체 집어야 돼. 가리다. 예당 되니 탐체를 랑가 타바가 쏘 걸리지. 삼바든 kinh 되래. 쏴다지서 쏴지서 산적 셈지. 다 산적의 셈지는 셈지는 삼신지 제중아. 대대 이제 노바타는 그 주바고나 sabte 다고 야야 달들이 이제는 삼행지 고나 슬라 탐색 쪼대리 상지 초바는 삼행지 셈지는 비방 삼행지 랑가 타다 상우는 삼행지리 잭바도 요매 삼행지지나 슬라란 초바 차로래 셈지는 비방 정거리 랑가 타바 토거리 이제 뭐 따로 탐색들이 사족선 삼바다 hin지에 했을 삼바체 비바티 대리 삼바체 비바를 드린지야 남지 잡로를 그러나 잡아 삼바타가 또또 쪼들이 수학적 남이게는 이런 탐제 탐거요사 니랑게 라강이나 디 참선을 하다면서 기보다는 오사 뚜바이 삼 대냥이 시적이 뭐 요래 드리처럼 왕족 송지 들어오는 말들 다시 들려주셔요.
Lastly, we come to the Samayam. So it normally mentions the Samaya of body, speech, and mind. And so there is this repetition, this supplication we repeat where we say, I shall do whatever the principal Lord commands, and so on. And so even though that's what we say, actually nobody really does that. Nobody really does everything the principal Lord commands, not even the principal Lord. But so what is the ultimate Samaya that we all should keep? That's really most important. And that is the life force of all the deities. 100 deities have a single life force. Or for example, there might be hundreds of rivers or waters in the world. If you pick up a single drop of water on your finger, you should recognize that this drop of water has the same nature than all the water in the world. So it's just like that. Whatever Yidam deity you practice, if you practice one deity well, then you're practicing all the Yidam deities. And so regarding the Samayana, the Samayam is called the life force of your own liberation. And the life force of your own liberation is nothing else but love and compassion. Love and compassion is the life force of the deity. It is that what we call the deity is actually bodhicitta. So the Samayam is to sustain love and compassion for all sentient beings. And when others harm you, you should practice patience. You practice patience and you hold on to love. So love and compassion, the Samaya is love and compassion for others. And also when you practice love and compassion, you're making offerings to all the Buddhas. So what the greatest offering to all the Buddhas is love and compassion. The greatest benefit to sentient beings is love and compassion. And your own seed of liberation is love and compassion. It's nothing else but just that. So if you have love and compassion, you're practicing the deity, you're offering the deity, you're benefiting sentient beings, and you yourself will attain liberation. So that's the root Samayam. It is love and compassion, or it is immeasurable love. If you have immeasurable love, then the other immeasurables will naturally arise from that. Also, it is said that love is the all-pervasive power. The power of love is all-pervasive. And so, in this way, with this understanding, you should practice a single deity, knowing that within this one deity, all the Yidam deities are contained. And of course, even though you practice one principal deity, sometimes you practice different deities, and that is fine, but you should always understand that they are all the same. Within this one deity, all the Yidam deities are contained. So that is the Samayam of the empowerment, and this also completes the empowerment. Many dashi delek, my Dharma friends.
We'll read the 7 verses of supplication to the protectress Tara, which is on the event page under the White Tara Empowerment event. Click on that link and you will find this booklet. Noble Goddess, Mother Tara, you dwell in the realm of the unborn Dharmadhatu Mother. You who bestows happiness on all sentient beings, please protect me from all fears. Mother Goddess, please protect sentient beings, my mothers, wandering in samsara with minds controlled by afflictions, who do not recognize that they themselves are Dharmakaya. Genuine Mother Goddess, please protect those who follow the conventional meanings of words and are deceived by errant tenets, for the Dharma has not truly taken birth in their hearts. Mindful Mother Goddess, please protect those who have seen the nature of mind, so difficult to realize, but do not habituate it, so remain lost in negative activities. Goddess of non-dual mind, please protect those who are bound, no matter what they do, by habitual dualistic grasping at concepts in the mind that is self-arisen, non-dual, primordial wisdom. Omniscient Mother Goddess, please protect those who have dwelt in the authentic truth, but do not understand the interdependence of cause and effect, and thus are blind to the meaning of what is to be known. Having the unelaborated space-like nature from which everything is indivisible, complete Buddha Mother, please continue to protect those disciples who are ordinary.
boyo. Oh, body song, thank you, long life. Bye.
Thank you so
See you
much.
tomorrow.
Thank you so much, His Eminence Garchen Rinpoche, for bestowing this white Tara empowerment upon us all. Please join us tomorrow for the white Tara practice and for the burning away affliction practice for the deceased. And we also will be adding a weekly white Tara practice every Thursday morning, 8 a.m. Arizona time for the rest of this year, performed by the Garchen Institute Lamas for Garchen Rinpoche's long life. So you're welcome to join us on the stream for that as well. Thank you. Take care. Be well.